everyone, Mandy here. So if you watch my videos, you typically see almost every race night at the racetrack, you see our crew, our drivers, writing stuff down, taking notes, chasing around the car, doing this, doing that, going around here, right? What are they documenting? Why are they documenting this stuff? Well, today you are going to find out.
When you get to the racetrack, you're going to want an idea of how to set up your race car and what to record so that you know how to set it up the next time. And how do you know this information? Take notes the last time you were there, because the first time you show up to a new track, you know nothing. So it's really challenging, but the worst thing you can do is not remember what you did. So what we use to start with is a setup sheet like this, and this has all sorts of information like ride heights, weights, wheel offsets, panhard positions, radius rod positions. It has what shock valvings were used, along with caster, camber, toe. But the most important thing is writing the date and what track and what gear. I mean, those are very simple things that you can't go to a track without, is just knowing what gear you ran last time. So we'll record this in the shop, scale the car based on the last time we were at that track or the many times we've been to that track. And we'll kind of try to guess based off the weather what the track's gonna do before we even get there. And then once we are there, then we have other things to record and keep track of throughout the night.
So as Mike was saying, it starts up with the Bicknell sheets, and he records all of his information that he gets on the scales. And then once we're at the track, if it's the first time, we obviously record data. Anytime you're at the track, we record data. And what we use are these sheets. We have a before sheet and an after sheet. And that breaks down the, before the race, you want to record all your pressures, your circumferences to get your stagger, your fuel, obviously, your gears, whatever you want to record, whatever you think is benefit your team. And then after the race, we have these, which we record the tire temps, again, the pressure, the circumference to get your stagger, the fuel. You want to measure your tires before and after each race or each time the car hits the track. You want to get the air pressures. The temperatures are only after the track. He records his shock travel and all of the fine tuning stuff. So part of the reason that we record the data that we record is, like, for instance, your tire circumference. You record the circumference for stagger, which will determine your tire choice and help you throughout the night. And then when you go back to that track, it'll help you so you're not starting from ground zero. Another reason that we record our data, and particularly the tire temperatures, is because that'll help determine our air pressures. Our air pressures are dictated by what we record the previous race. And if the tire comes in hot, then obviously we know to adjust, or if it comes in cool, we know to adjust. When the car comes in and recording data, you obviously want to go to what's hot, the hottest at the time and closest to track conditions. As for instance, you don't want to go to the left front when you're recording data, because that's usually not on the track, depending on setup. But you want to go to the right rear, you want to go to the left rear, and then, obviously you move around the car from there, but you don't want to start at the cooler places. So there's, the 35 Adirondack Auto Racing team has a process to, when the car comes off the track, an order of things that they record. Every team might do it different, every person might do it different, but depending on the help that you have, one person might take the wheel covers off, as the other person is getting the temperatures. And there might, if you have enough help, there might be someone jacking the car up, because obviously you can't get the circumference of the tires until the car is jacked up. So as you come back around, obviously the car has to be off the ground to get your tire circumferences. And that's where, if you have enough help, that third person comes into play. And then you get those as other people are doing their job duties, and everything works smoothly. The whole reason that you have the order that you have is so you get the accurate, data information that you write down. Because if you come in when the tire's hot and measure it hot, you're gonna have one measurement. And then when you measure it cold, you're gonna have another measurement. And the same goes for air pressures. They're gonna be two completely different numbers from hot to cold. You wanna do it as soon as it gets off the track, therefore you can show or get close to showing what the car was on the track. And this is why we do all of the tire temps first, then we come around and do all the circumferences first, and then we come around and do all the pressures first. Tire temps are obviously going to be hottest as soon as he comes off the track, so you want to get those first. Then you want to do each step single-handedly, because if you try and do it all at one time, by the time you get from here to the other side of the car, it's not going to be that hot, and it's going to cool down, therefore it's not going to be the same size. So here is our 2020 binder in a nutshell. This is all the data we've recorded at all the tracks, scale sheets, race day information, and if we don't race the track often, we can reference, each tab is dedicated to a certain track and or car. We can go to whatever you want to call it and go to that page, and we go back on that, and we have a ground zero to start on and have a basis to get the setup of the car in that race day. So if it's your first time going to a racetrack, don't be nervous, don't be scared. You can look up the size of the racetrack, the formation, the dirt / clay and or whatever it's made out of, and reference it to another racetrack you've been at. Or you can, might sound far-fetched, but reach out to a competitor. Believe it or not, the racing community is a family. And you might race each other on the track, but they're not gonna give you their setup and all of their tips, obviously, but they're gonna help you out, even as little as the gear ratio.
As a driver, I like to make a lot of the adjustment decisions based off of how the car feels, but I also like to add the data that Josh records to it. So my expectation is that when I come in, he gets that data recorded so that I can look at it. And a lot of times that'll determine making, an air pressure adjustment, a stagger adjustment based off of the tire data, or, obviously I'm in the car, so I can view the tack and maybe need a gear adjustment or something like that. But the main thing is just recording it for next time, because these decisions made on a single night are really challenging, and there's a lot of pressure to try to get it done on any given night. But there's always next week too, or next year, and you don't realize it at the time, but years go by and you're like, man, I wish I took more notes. So it's really important to do so that you have it going on in the future. And because when you run 50 or 80 races in a year, it's really hard to remember them all.
So now you guys know and understand a lot more on what exactly these guys are writing down when they're at the races. And really, guys, this is like, what would you say? This is kind of like a basic sheet, right?
Yeah, this is
a
generic
where
sheet.
can we get these?
Yeah, very basic.
Where can we get these?
QuickCarRacingProducts.com.
Okay, so you can go there. Between Mike, Josh, my dad, my brother, all of them, they have their own preferences, they have their own needs, their own ways of tracking stuff. So not every single driver use this sheet.
No, some people just write on a loose leaf piece of paper.
Not all are
save
organized.
that. After doing that for a few weeks, Josh decided to get these nicer sheets because it's a lot more organized and easier to read. It's because we're always going back and referencing the sheets to make adjustments for later events.
And I also want to make it as simple and easy as possible for the driver when he goes to scale the car, because he has too many things on his mind. So in order for him to go in the binder and look up the sheet and know what he's looking for, I just want to make it as easy as possible.
So now you guys know. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to
Like the videos.
subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the newsletter. And come back next time, guys.